63 million Americans woke up this morning under winter storm alerts, and right now, a bomb cyclone is detonating off the eastern seaboard with enough force to drop atmospheric pressure 30 millibars in 24 hours, a rate that rivals a Category 2 hurricane. New York City is under its first blizzard warning in 9 years. 3 governors have declared states of emergency across 43 counties and the entire state of New Jersey. Over 3,000 flights have already been canceled at New York airports alone. Suffolk County has banned all non-essential vehicles from every road. The National Weather Service is forecasting snowfall rates of 3 inches per hour, with total accumulations that could push past 2 feet on Long Island. Coastal flood warnings now stretch from Delaware to Maine, and storm surge is expected to slam into Jamaica Bay, Staten Island, and the Battery at the worst possible moment, right at Sunday night high tide. And the region this storm is about to bury has not yet finished counting its dead from the last one. 4 weeks ago, a winter storm killed over 100 people across the United States. 15 of those deaths were in New York City and Long Island. One of them was Roger McGovern, a 60-year-old retired NYPD sergeant in Floral Park, New York, who walked 1 mile through the cold and the snow to shovel a path for parishioners at Our Lady of Victory Church. He suffered a heart attack and died on the sidewalk. His lifelong friend Kevin Troy told reporters it was not an unusual thing for Roger to do. The snow from that storm is still on the ground. The piles that buried this city 4 weeks ago never fully melted. They sit on the sidewalks now, black with soot and mud. Tonight, up to 2 feet of new snow is about to fall on top of them. Here is how this storm came together. On Wednesday, a shortwave trough slammed ashore on the California coast and began racing east across the Rocky Mountains. By Thursday, the National Weather Service issued winter storm watches for the coastal Northeast. But the forecast was modest. A few inches, a nuisance. As late as Friday morning, the most trusted computer models in the world, the European model and the British model, still showed the system sliding harmlessly out to sea. Then everything changed in a matter of hours. 2 separate energy systems, one diving south from the Great Lakes and one surging northeast from the Gulf, merged faster and closer to the coastline than any reliable model predicted. Meteorologists call this phasing. When those 2 systems locked together, they created an atmospheric engine of extraordinary power. By Friday night, the National Weather Service upgraded watches to blizzard warnings. New York Governor Kathy Hochul held an emergency press conference and told reporters that 2 days ago we were expecting a run-of-the-mill, just February storm. But over the last 24 hours, this forecast has shifted dramatically, and literally in the last hour, we received word that it is even worse than we expected. But that was only half the collision. As the merged system began tracking up the eastern seaboard on Sunday, a wall of high pressure over eastern Canada blocked its path. In the world of nor'easters, 50 miles is the difference between a dusting and a disaster. That blocking high shunted the storm's track west, pressing it against the coastline and dragging the heaviest snow bands directly over every major city from Philadelphia to Boston. The storm did not just intensify, it was steered into a corridor of 44 million people. Now, zoom in. The bullseye sits squarely over New York City, Long Island, and the Jersey Shore. To the north, Boston and southeastern Massachusetts face up to 2 feet. To the south, Philadelphia declared a snow emergency and staged 25,000 tons of salt. Across Long Island, the East End is bracing for the highest totals, potentially exceeding 24 inches. Storm-driven winds are pushing the Atlantic inland. Coastal flood warnings blanket every shoreline from Delaware Bay to the coast of Maine. On Long Island, the National Weather Service warned that ice forming in bays and harbors could worsen the flooding and damage shoreline structures from the inside out. And this is where it gets worse. The snow falling tonight is not the dry, fluffy powder that blows off a driveway. The opening wave is heavy, wet snow, the kind utility workers call heart attack snow because it clings to power lines and tree limbs and adds thousands of pounds of weight to infrastructure. That weight will load the electrical grid for hours before the strongest winds even arrive. Then gusts of 50 to 70 miles per hour will rip through a system already buckling under the load. Steve Sullivan, president of electric operations at Eversource, warned that the storm has the potential to bring down trees and branches onto electric lines and equipment. Here is the part that should keep people awake tonight. Once blizzard conditions set in, utility crews cannot safely deploy bucket trucks. Any power line that falls Sunday night stays dark until the winds die down Monday afternoon. For millions of people along the Interstate 95 corridor, losing power tonight could mean 12 to 18 hours in the cold with no timeline for restoration. This region was already broken before the storm arrived. Governor Hochul declared a separate state disaster emergency for all of New York on February 18th. Not for this blizzard, but for what came before it. The relentless cycle of winter storms since late January has significantly depleted the state's supply of road salt and other vital resources. In Connecticut, winter storm crews are exhausted and town budgets are depleted. Along the Jersey Shore, stores that had just finished restocking salt supplies after the January storm found their shelves stripped bare again by Saturday afternoon. The infrastructure that is supposed to protect people from a storm like this has been running on fumes for weeks. The numbers tell a story of their own. 26 million people are under blizzard warnings. 3,000 flights were canceled at New York airports, with 70 to 80% of Monday flights expected to follow. 100 National Guard members have been activated. 2,200 sanitation vehicles are on the streets of New York City alone, backed by 700 salt spreaders and 1,000 emergency shovelers hired off the street just this morning. Now picture one of those shovelers. Somewhere in Brooklyn right now, someone walked into a Department of Sanitation garage between 8 and 1 this afternoon, signed up for a shift, and will spend tonight clearing snow in the worst blizzard to hit the city since January 2016. They will work alongside 2,600 sanitation workers pulling 12-hour shifts. The city has activated Code Blue, deploying 18 warming buses and 13 school warming centers across the 5 boroughs. Overdose prevention centers will stay open overnight through the blizzard. All of it exists because of what happened 4 weeks ago when at least 7 people were found dead outdoors in the city during the last storm, some of them with previous interactions with the shelter system. Mayor Zoran Mamdani told reporters Saturday that these have the potential to be even more hazardous conditions than the city faced the last time around. What happens next is still unfolding. The worst window is tonight. Snowfall rates could exceed 2 inches per hour for multiple consecutive hours. Winds will peak after midnight, with the most destructive gusts arriving between Sunday night and Monday morning. The Monday morning commute, according to Mayor Mamdani, will be extremely hazardous, with peak snowfall and peak winds coinciding to create near zero visibility. By Tuesday, the snow should stop. Temperatures may climb into the 40s by Wednesday, which will help. But between now and then, the question is not whether this storm will paralyze the Northeast. That is already certain. The question is whether a region that lost over 100 people to the last storm, a region whose salt is depleted, whose crews are exhausted, whose dead have barely been buried, can survive a bigger one. Will this be the storm that finally exceeds what the infrastructure can absorb? How many Roger McGoverns are out there right now, pulling on their boots, determined to shovel a path to their church, or check on a neighbor, or clear a fire hydrant, who will not come home? And what does it mean when a city that never recovered from the last disaster is struck by the next one before the snow has even melted? The wind is building off the Atlantic tonight. The pressure is still dropping. In a few hours, the snow that falls on New York City will land on snow that has been there for a month, a frozen layer cake of storms that this region cannot seem to outrun. The blizzard is not approaching. It is already here, and it is still intensifying.